This episode of BTP Daily is brought to you by K Rico Coffee, man. One of the best coffee places you can go to, and they're also selling coffee for everyone all over the place. But it's nice to have some coffee at home. It's also nice to have some coffee somewhere else, but it's also tremendous to go have some over at K Rico Coffee. For those of you that live down in South Florida, definitely a place you want to go to. It's over at 2728 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood. And you will enjoy it. JR and the gang have some tremendous coffee, have some tremendous types of coffee recipes and all this other good stuff that you will definitely enjoy. But more what you will enjoy, other than the coffee, let me be completely honest with you on this one, is the people. You go in there, you chat, they talk. What a concept, right? People talking nowadays, face to face, and, actually caring about what you say. And no need to really look at your cell phone in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, K Rico Coffee gives you that more human experience, that human touch, because they care so much about their craft, but they also care so much about making you, the consumer, happy with your cup of coffee. Whatever type of coffee you might like, everybody has different tastes, everybody has different likes. K Rico Coffee has it for you. K Rico Coffee. It's the people that make coffee good.
Ding dong, Julen's gone. That's pretty much how it went. And it was a very weird 4 months in which not only did Julen Lopetegui burn bridges at Real Madrid, he also burnt bridges with the Spanish national team, which in turn burned bridges with Real Madrid, which in turn burned bridges with the Spanish FA. What a wonderful, if you want to call it that, tripartite affair, threesome for some, depending on how you want to look at it. One of those fatal type of attractions, if you will, where everyone had their little bit to blame, because today in the statement, Real Madrid comes out and it pretty much says the statement, and I don't have it written in front of me right now. I don't have it verbatim, but the idea was that we, the board, believe that the situation was disproportionate based on the amount of Ballon d'Or nominees that we had. 8, which was historic in the history of Real Madrid, which was something that had never occurred in the history of Real Madrid before. And the results that were being put out by the team at that moment. When you finish reading that statement, the bus not only just ran over Julen Lopetegui, it stopped, reversed, and ran right back over him once again. That again is pretty much the state of things at Real Madrid with Florentino Perez. Because it was funny, and I always mention that moment in Miami when he talked about how much he believed in Julen Lopetegui and how great things were going to be and how awesome things were going to be. Hey, you guys saw how this team has performed so far in the International Champions Cup. Which I find funny because a year ago, and it was a great quote by Luis Suarez after a Clásico, when he says, hey, remember when... Actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't Luis Suarez, it was by Valverde, by Ernesto Valverde, after the match, saying, remember last year when we got trounced? We pretty much got beat pretty bad by Real Madrid, and people were saying that things were not looking good, and well, look how things ended up. Well, we've been on that side, now we're on this side. That shows you a little bit about how things are in the world of football. Once, it's not linear, it's circular. And when things go well, you're on top of that circle or on that globe or on top of the world or however you want to look at it. But boy, that world does keep spinning. My father used to say, yeah, you might be on top, but the earth rotates every 24 hours, or does a whole rotation in 24 hours. Translates a little bit better in Spanish. So that's pretty much how things are when it comes to the world of football. And again, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of fingers to point. But at the end of the day, everyone has a little bit to blame. The players had a bit to blame. And it was great to see players like Casemiro come out and say, hey, you know what? We're the disaster. 5-1's indicative of our season. We were a disaster as a team. It wasn't Julen's fault. It's our fault, too, for not performing. And you have to give him credit for that, for at least coming out and saying, hey, it's not just one person's fault. Yes, it was Lopetegui's fault because he tried to implement some type of logic. He was coming in with his ideas, something that Real Madrid, you have to be very wary of how you present those ideas to individuals, especially Florentino Perez. That's a big issue. He thought that there was a need to have a bigger goalkeeper. Okay, fine. And now I've been a proponent of Keylor Navas for a while, but yesterday in El Clásico, you could not blame Thibaut Courtois for many things that went wrong with Real Madrid. He's not the problem. He comes in and he's in a great situation, and as I've said before, it's very hard for any player, I don't care who you are, to say no to Real Madrid or to any big club for that matter. But for the sake of the conversation, we have to use the term or the name of Real Madrid. What do you expect? What do you think of a player that's in a bad situation? What do you think of a coach that's in a bad situation? What do you think about a coach that's in a bad situation who on top the players aren't executing at the best possible level? What do you say? How can you perform? How can you react? How can you really bounce back if you've never really sold the dressing room with your ideas and your ideals? That's a big question that is left as far as the players are concerned, as far as Real Madrid is concerned. What could have been done better? I'd say I don't know. Things look promising, but it all stems of understood and absurd pride. That's what Florentino Perez said about the national team sacking Julen Lopetegui. And when you look at it in hindsight, you have different fingers to point, but the biggest and longest one you have to look at is definitely that of Florentino Perez. Why did he have to negotiate then that announcement and say, hey, you know what? Let's try and make things a little bit calmer. Why do we have to announce him now? Why can't we wait until the World Cup for that to be done? And again, that's where Florentino Perez ends up meddling in one situation and finding himself in another. That's a very big PR hit for him. You could say that he still has credit after winning 3 Champions Leagues, after the recent success that he's had as a president of a club that's been amongst one of the most successful, if not the most successful, in the past 4 or 5 years. So then a lot of questions have to be answered as far as it's concerned. Florentino has a lot to blame. Florentino came through and was able to make a lot of gaffes throughout this time. And mind you, results helped him. But again, the way that the results were acquired is another big question mark. The Champions Leagues weren't the most convincing wins. They were convincing enough, but I'm talking about the entire Champions League run itself. There was a lot of people questioning Real Madrid, but they still found as a team ways to win games, whether it was by luck, by poor refereeing, by favorable refereeing, whatever you want to call it. They did it. But at the same time, it did cover a lot of cracks that were present. In some cases, a lot of craters. That's what wins like those end up doing. And they end up overriding certain things. I mean, La Liga, their performance last season was indicative of what's going on now. Let's be honest as far as that's concerned. It's something that has been quite prevalent over the last year and a half under Zinedine Zidane, now under Julen Lopetegui, and of course, as of today, with Santiago Solari. That, again, you have to start looking from that perspective and understanding that there's greater things than just lifting the trophy itself. You have to start to analyze other things and what were the problems. I mean, to let Cristiano Ronaldo go the way he did, to let Zinedine Zidane go the way he did, and not really find a replacement, that really starts to really ask a lot of questions about his leadership as a president and as the omnipotent and omniscient factor and entity that he has become over Real Madrid. And no one else can really override his beliefs and what he thinks and how he sees the game. That ends up being more preoccupying than anything else. That, to me, ends up being the most telling thing, even more so than the 5-1 beating that Barcelona, without Messi, gave an already injured and already vulnerable and already weakened Real Madrid side.